Tried the Marshall Stockwell. That was really nice. I tried the Marshall Emberton. It was okay. Not the greatest I've ever tried, but pretty pleasant. If you like a very clear, bright sound, you're telling me, you got to move up a bit, Al. The Marshall Kilburn, it's going to sound even better because it's got a fuller sound, it's got a bigger bass. So the clue is, it's in my hands. Now, of course, these are British speakers. Oh no, hang on a second. Marshall is a British company, but actually made by Sound Industries. It says so on the back. That's a Swedish company. And where do they actually produce them? They make them in China. They pay money for a license to Marshall to use the name. They stick the name on the front. It looks like Marshall amplifiers, but really it's got very little, if anything, to do with Marshall apart from the name. So what's the big deal about the Kilburn? Well, it's obviously bigger than the Stockwell, bigger than the Emberton. It's obviously a lot gutsier. It's actually got 3 amps. There's a tweeter there. There's a tweeter on the back, and there's a woofer. And by the way, it's ported, no passive radiators. We have a port on the back. So we've got a 20 watt amp going to the woofer and separate 8 watts going to each of the tweeters. It's a weird thing in my money, in my terms, what they've done with this speaker. Why is that out? Well, I'm going to tell you. So they'll tell you we do fancy processing and it's like blumline processing and it's going to create a 360-degree sound. It sounds the same from everywhere, and it's amazing. It's processed, but hey, it sounds like you're immersed. Well, no, because hang on a second. There's a tweeter there. Well, that must be the right channel. No, that's the left channel. And then on the other side, which becomes when you're facing it, it's on the left side, but it becomes the right channel. So there's a tweeter there. If you can see it, there's a tweeter there. And by the way, that's the leather handle. Some people do like their handles, and it's removable. And tweeter there. Somebody has sat down and said, we're trying to recreate what sounds like pseudo surround and make it like stereo. So the right side is the left channel. The left side is the right channel. Well, maybe mine is wired wrongly or something, but if that's the same on yours, maybe you agree with me. That's incredible. So we have a pair of 20 millimeter tweeters. They are tweeters because they're full range drivers on the Stockwell. And we've got a 20 centimeter woofer. We also have what is pretty standard and now separate bass and treble controls. Default is always the 5 with the little line pointing up. That points to the 5. That's always the default position. And the volume. All right, you get some granular control if you don't want to use your actual device. But hey ho, if you just turn it on, you're going to turn it all the way around to get maximum volume and all the way around to go off. And by the way, that is your Bluetooth. If it goes into standby, that also is the button to turn it out of standby. And in terms of what kind of a pseudo surround does it manage, I have to say on listen, okay, there's some semblance of left and right when you like that, but it's not very nice. It's clearly meant to be listened on axis. And to me, it actually sounds quite mono. It's not like the Stockwell is quite thin, so you can play tricks like that. But having the right channel on the riff just makes it sound mono. Now, I'm not sure if it's meant to be summed in some way to the front tweeter. It doesn't sound like it's summed to the front tweeter, to be honest. But a lot of the frequency range is taken by that woofer anyway, which completes of what to me sounds like the mono sound. Now, the first thing we've got to know is, well, come on then, what do we expect? Let's have a listen. Let's have a look at the frequency responses. And I'm also going to show you what happens when you play with those bass and treble knobs.
Marshall Kilburn 2, quite a linear response, but with each extra volume step, you do get a little bit less extra volume as you move up the volume scale. No massive bass reduction at maximum volume, but hey ho, massive upper bass peak. That looks worrying, but kind of smoothing out the nearer maximum volume you get. 20%, 40% upper bass, very, very dominant. 300 hertz to about 2 kilohertz, a worrying dip, and then again about 3 kilohertz to about 7.5 kilohertz. So not the flattest frequency response we've ever seen. Clearly upper bass heavy. The one positive I can see here is no massive bass reduction in terms of its overall sound signature, even at maximum volume. We do have a separate bass and treble adjustment. The Mauve is bass at 10 and treble at 10. That's your headroom. You can see both those adjustments affect a large area of the frequency response. Seems to hinge around 1 kilohertz, but already way too upper bass heavy. For me, I'm looking to reduce that a bit. Red here is a default mode. And then look at what looks like the same response, the blue and the brown line. Blue is bass at 0. Brown is bass at 3. So as you can see, as you go below bass at 3, default being 5, it's actually increasing some of the highs to give the overall impression of bass being reduced. It's kind of weird to me. So overall, if I'm trying to smooth out that upper bass peak, I found bass at 3 about where I needed to be. Still got an upper bass peak, but it's smoothed out. And if I go below that, I'm just increasing highs anyway.
So you can see from the measurements that that upper bass is well overblown because it's not balanced by any deeper bass. So for me, I need to do something about it. You can see that bass at 3 is something of a sweet spot because when you go below 3 for some reason, it just increases the treble to make it sound like it's decreased the bass to somewhat, and it hasn't. It's all very weird. But what is the difference? If I put bass at 3, bass at 5, let's have a listen to the difference.
It's time to take your shot. You're leaning in, don't stop. Don't stop. I'm not bad at your dreams. We're picking out our rings. So get down on your knees. So get down on your knees. I'm giving you the green light. I wanna feel you. Give me the green light. You know you want to. I'm giving you the green light. I wanna feel you. Give me the green light. You know you want to. I'm giving you the green light. I wanna feel you. Give me the green light. I know you want to. I'm giving you the green light. I wanna feel you. Give me the green light. You know you want to.
Kilburn 2, bass at 5. Kilburn 2, bass at 3. The difference in bass is significant. We've lost 2 decibels at 74 Hz. And at 50 Hz, we're 3 decibels down when we go from 5 to 3. So the loss in bass is significant. It may be too much for you. However, look at what it does to the balance. It does reduce considerably that upper bass nature. So if that's too much for you, bass at 3 is about as low as you'd want to go. And in terms of that bass, have a look at the original track. Note the 200 Hz peak here and the 800 Hz peak here. They are level on the original track. But look at the same thing, even with bass at 3, you can see that considerable upper bass push. And with bass at 5, it's way boosted, a long way from being accurate. Also look at that 100 Hz peak on the original track, followed by 2 more peaks, 70 Hz, 50 Hz. But look at the Kilburn. That 50 Hz is completely missing. There's the 100 Hz, there's the 70 Hz, and whether you're at 5 or 3, that peak that you'd expect it to be able to play, because it can play down to 40 Hz, but it's for some reason completely rolling off from 80 Hz, missing out everything in between till it hits about 40 Hz. So the bass really is a weak point on the Kilburn.
Now, clearly, backing off to 3, for me, for my listening, it does ease that upper bass, but it is costing you in deep bass. Not only is it costing you a lot, I think 3 decibels, wasn't it, in deep bass. That bass overall is really weird. That completely missing 50 Hz peak. So it's kind of like part of that mid bass completely missing. It's got some deep bass. It's got a hell of a lot of upper bass. But some of that mid bass is completely missing in action. Let's get into the real world. Start listening at lowish volumes. Going to compare it with the pound for pound. Of course, you knew it was coming. It had to be in the video. The pound for pound world champion, Soundcore Motion Boom, and the JBL extremely priced 3. It's something that is a reference for a lot of you. So let's see where the Kilburn 2 stands against these 2 speakers that we've got a really good handle on already. About 50% volume.
I think you're cute, I bet you take me on a date. Tonight is good, I bet you pick me up at 8. Up to my parents that we're going to the movies. If it's really going well, I'll let you touch my boom. I think I like you, wanna take me out again. Let's have a party, introduce me to your friends. Oh, with those pants you like so everyone can see. Every girl is sexy, but they ain't got shit on me. Oh, look, it's 12 o'clock. It's time to take your shot. You're leaning in, don't stop. I'm giving you the green light. I wanna feel you. Give me the green light. I know you want to. I'm giving you the green light. I wanna feel you. Give me the green light. You know you want to. What is someone, boy? It's really been a whirlwind. I'm so happy I'm officially your girlfriend. Moving in together, I can pay the rent. If you clean my dishes, you don't have to pay a cent. We're on a day trip, driving through the fields to meet your parents in the Santa Barbara Hills. To be honest, I'm surprised that they'd invite me. Mommy really doesn't, but your daddy kinda likes me. I'm the girl of your dreams. We're picking out our rings, so get down on your knees. I'm giving you the green light. I wanna feel you. Give me the green light. I know you want to. I'm giving you the green light. I wanna feel you. Give me the green light. You know you want to. It's 12 o'clock. It's time to take your shot. You're leaning in. Don't stop. Don't stop. I'm the girl of your dreams. We're picking out our rings. So get down on your knees. So get down on your knees. I'm giving you the green light. I wanna feel you. Give me the green light. You know you want to. I'm giving you the green light. I wanna feel you. Give me the green light. You know you want to. I'm giving you the green light. I wanna feel you. Give me the green light. I know you want to. I'm giving you the green light. I wanna feel you. Give me the green light. You know you want to.
So I'm using it at bass 4. Maybe I should have left it at default. I know a lot of you are going to come kicking and screaming into the comments. What good is it? Is the comparison? It's not even at default, blah, 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 blah. And you put the other one in custom, and well, that one in custom, and it's not fair, blah, blah. I figured it's actually being a little bit fair to this speaker. In between where I would have it maybe towards the 3 and default at 5, put it at 4. Let's reduce that upper bass a little bit. Make it sound a tiny bit more balanced. Yes, it does cost us a little bit in the deep bass. But come on, even taking all that into account, to me, that sounds off. I know a lot of people really like this speaker. I wasn't expecting it to sound like it does. Going by comments that other people are making, looking at other people's reviews of this speaker compared to speakers that I've already got a handle on. Personally, I found the sound off. That upper bass is well overblown for me. Okay, outdoors, that's not quite so bad. And a lot of you only like upper bass. A lot of you don't like deep bass. I've got to accept that. That's the way of the world. But for me, in my opinion, and this is all about my opinion, that sounds off. 50% volume, I don't like how it sounds. And I would describe it as sounding quite electronic. The boom, look, 50% is not its sweet spot. That is for sure. But for me, you got a nice warm sound, proper deep, but not overblown bass. But I have to say at these volumes, probably JBL Xtreme 3 probably has the nicest balance of clarity, but still having deep wallop, but without it being completely overblown. I mean, that's pretty listenable for me and still gives you satisfying bass. But maybe as we push the volumes, we're going to see what the Kilburn 2 can really do, or what people are saying, why people really love this speaker when I look at their reviews. So around 75% volume.
I see you try to look at me now, burning holes to your favorite town. Yeah, you try, but you can't put me down. So lately, tried to pray, but they're watching me drown. Not your fault, but you didn't make a sound. Guess you're wasting your face when it's down. What they see, you were so good at make-believe. You'll never take the truth from me. What they see me screaming, do I make you nervous? Am I such a burden? You're always so certain you're right about me. Do I make you nervous? Did I really deserve this? Yes, I serve my purpose, but you're useless to me. Do I make you nervous? Do I make you nervous? bloodstains the points of my crown. My demons told me shit to me now. Told those voices that I won't back down. I save me. Well, I've got them all praying now. New religions got them on the ground. Not a saint, but I'll help you get found. What they see, you cry for help so shamelessly. You'll never put the blame on me. When they see me screaming, do I make you nervous? Am I such a burden? You're always so certain you're right about me. Do I make you nervous? Did I really deserve this? Does that serve my purpose, but you're useless to me? Do I make you nervous? Yeah, you try, but you can't put me down. Useless to me. When they see me screaming, do I make you nervous? Am I such a burden? You're always so certain you're right about me. Do I make you nervous? Did I really deserve this? Does that serve my purpose, but you're useless to me? Do I make you nervous? Useless to me. Do I make you nervous? 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 Do I make you nervous?
So what you can see here is the uneven nature of the bass on the Marshall Kilburn 2. Note that peak around 85 hertz, but there's the Motion Boom. It's much fuller. That 85 hertz peak is kind of extending down to 60 hertz. And it's the same thing on the JBL Xtreme 3, but even more of a peak at 60 hertz. And there's the Marshall Kilburn. It's rolling right off after that high 85 hertz peak. It's really strong in the upper bass, but it falls away, but the bass is still there. By the time you hit, say, 40 hertz, it's in line with the JBL Xtreme 3. It's just that it's kind of someone's forgot about the bass between 40 hertz and 80 hertz. We do have that obvious dip, 4 to 7 kilohertz. Not there on the Xtreme 3, not there on the Motion Boom. Marshall Kilburn overall has as much bass as the other two speakers simply because it's so strong in the upper bass. The balance is wrong.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Well, for me, hey, maybe my Kilburn 2 is faulty, but I don't think it really is. It does have a huge upper bass kick, so that's going to come down to taste. If you like your upper bass, you're going to be in love with this speaker. For me personally, that's so overblown, I can't really listen to it. I certainly have to dial it down. Bear in mind, we're at 4. That's below default, so we're already dialing it down. But even forgetting the upper bass, the whole nature of the sound to me is off. The pseudo surround doesn't work what they've done. And putting the left channel on the right side and the right channel on the left side, it's like someone's just having a laugh. It's almost like an April the 1st prank. My pound for pound world champion kicks ass here, as far as I'm concerned. That's 80 quid. That's about 220 quid. That's about 280 quid, but that's giving you what you want there. Nice balance to the sound. You're still getting your bass out of the JBL Xtreme Price 3, but it's starting to sound a bit shrieky. You know, it's now those really pushed highs on the Xtreme 3 that's starting to dominate. Maybe this is the world's loudest speaker. Maybe when we go to maximum volume, we're going to see what all the people who love the Kilburn, what is it about the Kilburn that they like? Maximum volume.
I never used to lose control. I also never had somebody like you. It's been a minute since I've been home. Let's get lost in the night. Yeah, I can feel it in my bones. I don't wanna stop. You've got the recipe. I know it's gonna take us higher. Loosen up, celebrate. Get up, stand up on your feet. Let's get big. Let's get big, big, break up big. Let's get big, big, big. Let's get big until I forget my name. Let's get big, big, big. Let's get big, break up big. Let's get big, big, big. 23. You gotta give your all tonight. Yeah, I can feel it in my bones, I don't wanna stop. You've got the recipe, I know it's gonna take us higher. Loosen up, celebrate. Get up, stand up on your feet. Let's get big. Until I forget my name, let's get big. Jump right, slide to the left, let's get big. Live it up while you can, and let's do it again. Let's get big. If you wanna dance, I can tell you about this place I know, somewhere hidden in the stars. No, don't waste your energy, even though we're 23. Gotta give your all tonight. Let's get big. Let's get big. Big, big, big. Let's get big. Big, big. Let's get big. Until I forget my name, let's get big. Big, big. Let's get big. Big, big. Let's get big. Big, big. Let's get big.
So on this track, Motion Boom in custom mode actually is louder than JBL Xtreme 3, which of course requires its power lead to be plugged in to get the full 50 watts out of it. And it's still a surprise, 30 watts Motion Boom can go louder in terms of the bass. It's a fatter bass still at maximum volume on the Motion Boom in custom mode. And at 40 Hertz, it's 5 decibels up on the JBL Xtreme 3. But at 40 Hertz at maximum volume, a bit of a shocker. It is in default mode now, which is bass at 5. 35 decibels at 40 Hertz gives some of the deepest bass to the Kilburn 2. Still has that massive upper bass. And when you put it all together, minus 21, it's 3 decibels louder in terms of bass now on the Motion Boom. 4 decibels up on the JBL Xtreme 3. So a bit of a shocker. We've had to wait to maximum volume for the Marshall Kilburn 2 to show its real colours. It doesn't go as loud as the other two overall, and that's because we don't have the mids and the highs now. So it's retaining bass at the cost of the mids and the highs, whereas it wasn't doing that at lower volumes. It's a bit of a fuller bass now, but we still have that drop off from 80 Hertz, which is still a bit high, but hey ho, it is retaining the most bass.
Holy cow, I was not expecting that. The Marshall Kilburn 2 is the winner at maximum volume. Hands up, anyone who predicted that. That for me was a shocker. Why is it winning at maximum volume? Well, first of all, it's not limiting bass in the way these other two speakers do, which has become all too common. 80%, that's the limit in the bass, because obviously you're getting distortion problems after that. And of course it takes more power from the amp. So a lot of people are just, what's the loudest speaker I can get, mate? And if we just have to push the amp towards the mids and the highs, it can actually go louder. So we're seeing 80% the limit in the bass, and then it just pushes the mids and the highs, and they become quite shrieky sounding and bass light. Not the case with the Marshall Kilburn. And that, the relative peaks between the upper bass and the rest of the frequency response smooths out as you go, certainly as you go past 8, where these other two speakers, and most of the speakers you're going to be buying off the shelf, become a bit weird and a bit off, 80% to 100%. This is where the Marshall Kilburn 2 was doing its best work. So in terms of holding on to bass, by some 3 to 4 decibels now of the biggest bass. Yes, a lot of that is down to the upper bass, but even in terms of mid bass, it's 4 decibels up. It still struggles with deep bass, but at 40 Hertz, it's still the loudest. But in terms of the width of that deep bass, that still goes to the Motion Boom in custom mode. But the balance is better. So it's not pushing the mids and the highs. In fact, it seems to be favouring the bass. I like, if I was going above 85%, probably the Kilburn 2 now is a speaker I'm picking up. If you're going outdoors and you still want your bass and you're having a barbecue and it's really nice weather and you buy the swimming pool, that may well be the speaker now. Maybe I'm seeing what people are liking. Maybe they're all playing at maximum volume. And it does come into its own, but there's the balance becomes right at maximum volume. They could have done that at lower volumes. I don't know why it's not tuned in a different way, and I don't know why the channels are the wrong way around, and why they've even bothered to put the right channel on the left side, on the back. Why didn't they just put it on the front and stop messing about, pretending they're doing something incredible with their pseudo surround processing? Now, I'm saying it's a win, of course, in terms of what goes the loudest. Well, that's the quietest. There's not that much in it between them, only a couple of decibels. But strictly speaking, it's the Motion Boom, my pound for pound world champ, is the loudest, followed by the Xtreme Price 3. Remember, if you stick your power lead in, it will go louder. I'm doing this all on battery because I'm all about portable Bluetooth speakers. So to me, it's kind of cheating. If I stick the power lead in, I might as well start reviewing loads of other active speakers that can do hundreds of watts because they're on mains power. I did have it at default, to be fair, because it was all about loudness. I have had the bass at default 5 rather than 4, which I had lower down. Now, in terms of what's it all about? You normally tell us all about the specs. You said nothing. They're all about the same in terms of battery capacity, all around 36, 37 watt hours. It is aptX on the Kilburn 2. Well, that's fabulous. We like aptX. Of course, it makes most difference if your recordings already are in a better quality. If you've got rubbish recordings, it's probably going to show that up even more. All Bluetooth 5, but the Kilburn 2 will not do stereo pairing. No USB-C. It is a mains lead that you're going to have to use. I think it's saying, I know it's rated at 36 watts, but it seems to be saying it will charge at 36 watts. I did measure it when I plugged it in. I was getting charging at 27 watts. It is the heaviest on this table. It's 2.5 kilos compared to the 2 kilos of the JBL Xtreme Price 3, and the Motion Boom comes in at 1.5 kilos. That floats. That's knackered if you drop it in water. It's rated IPX2. What does that mean? Well, apparently 15 degrees or less angle of water it can handle. Basically, splash a little bit of water, okay? A lot of water. You've got major problems in terms of Bluetooth latency. I found this really good. As good as any speaker I have tested. 33 milliseconds I got on YouTube. So there you have it. What's the takeaway? Well, the takeaway is I don't like the balance on the Marshall Kilburn 2, but if you're going to be playing at maximum volumes, if you're going over 80%, it does come into its own. If I was going full blast and still looking for a satisfying listen, I would pick the Kilburn 2. But I wouldn't buy this speaker because I can only play it at maximum volume. I don't like the sound. Look, it's, as I say with a lot of these speakers, if it's your only speaker, it'll sound fine to you if you just want to hear some music. But once you've got reference points on lots of speakers, you're going to hear what's off about a speaker and what you really don't like. You're going to get, the more speakers you try, the more picky you're going to get. You'll find that with so-called self-proclaimed audiophiles. They just listen to a lot of equipment. What they like has become finely adjusted to their brain and their hearing. And anything finally a little bit outside of that, they're going to say it's completely off. I'm not going to say it's completely off. I'm going to say it's completely off to me. I can't listen to this. I don't like that, the overblown upper bass. It's well in my face. I can't handle it. It's too much. And it's not accurate enough for me. It's not doing enough. The soundstage isn't there because of the way they've configured it, and the processing is off. For me, it's off. But I'm not saying it sounds terrible. I can play a track through it, and it's perfectly listenable. But I'm thinking, I want to pick up this one or that one because it's going to sound better. What I'm saying is I've got lots of reference points, which is why I can't listen to that. I can certainly think of speakers that will give you almost nothing for your money, but you do have bass here. You do have a reasonable spread of sound. If it's your only speaker and you're not particularly picky, you don't have huge references, you're going to like that. But as far as I go, as far as the Alan Ross channel's top picks go, I cannot recommend this speaker. I think it's completely off. I would still pick at 80 quid, even without taking the price point into account, I would still pick the Soundcore Motion Boom. No, I do not work for Soundcore. And the JBL Xtreme 3 at lower volumes, much like the JBL Charge 5, for my money, is where they excel because of the way they push the clarity and reduce bass at 80%. So, I will compare this with the Stockwell 2 in my next video. And I thank you for watching this particular video, and I hope you got something out of this video.
I ain't about that life. I ain't about that life. Ain't no project wife, got my logic right, cause I'm not your type. I ain't about that life. I ain't about that life. Sorry, ma, I ain't get it right. I'ma just live my life. I ain't about that. I ain't about that life.